Samurai 8, Chapter 12, For Whose Sake and For What Sake? So this is another fantastic chapter. It's between this and 10, that's like the best chapter in the series so far. I mean, I know there's only 12, but still, Kishimoto's on a roll, and can't forget Okubo as well. I mean, this cover page, the color of it is amazing. Everything about this chapter is just great. Yeah, it does have some tropes, but they're executed well. Kishimoto is, one of the best. He is the Naruto creator after all, Big 3 alumni, so yeah, it goes without saying, but let's get into it. So as expected, Ata is still a complete beast, despite being like a floating torso with one arm and one eye, because he immediately picks up Takasuna's soul, just gets Hachimaru out of his face, and then tries to go after Hachimaru. He's like, screw the rules, I'm just going to take you back in pieces. But then Hachimaru's dad, valiantly and pretty redeemingly to his character, I mean, he was already redeemed in the previous chapter, but this is just expanding upon that, takes the blow for Hachimaru, survives it, isn't completely obliterated by this, but I think that more so goes back to Ata being really nerfed at this point. I mean, he's already originally nerfed because, he is just a soul incarnate still, but now after the Reaper Death Seal that Dr. Furuta did to him in the previous chapter, he's like, 20%, 10% of his potential, just the incarnate. But then, in an awesome little moment, we get some support fire from Hokamechi, quite literally, because even though he's pinned to the wall by all 4 of Ata's katanas that he had, he's still able to do some stuff because he conjures like this huge rifle from his holder and just starts firing off on Ata. This is so cool. I've always liked Hokamechi. I like those side support characters who are mildly powerful, and it seems like Hokamechi is filling that role pretty good right now. And we're seeing that, not even Ata is able to stop this immediately. He's like, oh, I can't even make bursting slash attacks with this body. Going back to how nerfed he is right now. But then conveniently, he has, an explosive inside of one of his katanas in there. I mean, it's expected. I'm sure they have all kind of tricks. Honestly, I forgot that guns were, a part of this power scale. Of course, we've seen Daruma do it in the previous chapter. But I just like that Kishimoto is reminding us, hey guys, samurais can use guns too, so don't forget about that. And this is, I guess the most powerful gun that we've seen so far, right? Because before this, we've only seen Daruma using pistols. Could be wrong, but I think this might be the first time we've seen a rifle of this caliber. So just imagine what Ata, his base original form could do with his holder. He could create a gigantic crazy mega cannon, I'm sure, if he wanted to. We didn't see anything like that from Mugen. He seemed to be more sword style, but regardless, the thing that he made, the Garuda, the Yokozuna level holder that he had, I'm sure Ata could do something similar, but this just goes to show the potential of the weaponry in this world. I just can't wait to see more. We're also getting an update on Daruma, and he's still done. Just after that one single clash with Daruma's incarnate, he still can't move, but he is recovering slowly. He's at 50%, but he's at 10% until he could just straight up function. So he decides to be pragmatic about his choices from here, and he's just like, I'll take a nap. That'll allow me to recover faster. It's going to take 3 minutes, but I'm just going to gamble that everybody's going to be able to survive until then. And I think this might be giving us insight into why Daruma was randomly falling asleep at times in the previous chapters. I thought more so it was just a gag moment, it was a little quirky trait that he has, but he might have just been straight up just recovering in going into his sleep mode in those instances. So then Hachimaru consoles his injured father, and we get this nice little dichotomy panel where we're seeing one half is the current Hachimaru where he's just sullen and almost emotionless, and then we see the previous Hachimaru that is just crying and we're just seeing he was originally a crying, little child. I mean, you can't really hold it against him. He was always in pain. He's hooked up to a damn machine, super reliant on his dad. But now that we've seen he's grown so much just in these 12 chapters, especially after becoming a samurai and pulling a complete 180 on his life. And, we're further seeing it throughout this chapter, the difference and the growth of Hachimaru. So whether you liked Hachimaru or not from the beginning of this series up until now, regardless, this is just solid character development here. It's very similar to Naruto. Naruto himself had a rocky start in the series. He had a pretty polarizing reception in the beginning, but then eventually grew, similar to what we're seeing from Hachimaru now. And I'm liking it. I've always, liked Hachimaru, but this is solid. I think it is much needed especially what happens towards the end of this chapter. So now we're just seeing the more development, because Hachimaru, he just straight up tells Anne, he's like, look, I said some dumb stuff to show off. I'm sorry. But, you know, just take care of my dad. I'm the only one. I'm literally the only one who can save us here. I have to step up to the plate, and I have to be a man here. I can't be that crying child anymore. I have to defeat Ata because I'm the only one who can. And despite him knowing that he has had a severe disadvantage, even though Ata is just a floating torso with one arm and one eye, he still pulls his soul out. And even at this point, his soul is still not stable. It's still jaggedy. It's not quite straight yet. But despite all of that, he still goes after him. And Hachimaru, we all love him. He's right there with him, just immediately throwing up a shield to block his partner in crime. But still, even though this is clearly not enough, because Ata still wrecks them both immediately, like slashes up Hachimaru pretty bad. Hachimaru as well, but hey, Hachimaru's getting this gnarly slash on his eye, which looks pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it reminds me of what Boruto looks like, at least the future Boruto. Pretty cool. But then his arm's missing, and then he's like, his kneecap is like severed, and he's just barely holding on to his sword. He doesn't even have like a proper grip on it. But then, this is where we're getting the dig deep moment. He's like, all right, I'm still standing, but I gotta remember that I am good. I'm not just a weakling, you know, completely. I do have some skills. I was #1 in the world in this damn game. I can't forget that. And he's digging into his memories, and he's like, oh wait, I could see through 120 frames per second. So I guess I could translate that to real life. And what do you know, he does. He has this moment of genius where he's able to actually counter and see through Ata's moves. Regardless of if Ata is nerfed or not at this moment, it's still highly impressive what Hachimaru is doing here. And I guess this is just his muscle memory coming back into play, and it's pretty cool. You know, it's short-lived, of course, but still it's showing us that Hachimaru does have some insane potential, as we expected, because like I said, he's #1 in the game. There was a reason for that, and it's definitely going to come back into play as the series goes on. But as I was saying, it's short-lived because he just gets straight up stabbed. But, you know, it was cool while it lasted. So then Ata expands upon the exposition that he was talking about in the previous chapter about the true death of the samurais and how they don't die from wounds and blood loss, but once they admit that they have been defeated, they are abandoned by the god of war and their body disperses into the atmosphere, and then they are truly dead at that point. We saw it happen to Mugen, chapter 10. So, I was talking about this in the previous chapter, but I think I might have a better understanding of it now. Considering this is Kishimoto, and we have already drawn many parallels to Naruto already, I think it's very likely that the link that the samurais have to the god of war is similar to the link that the Indra and Asura chakra holders have to, like, the Hagoromo Force Ghost thing that Sasuke and Naruto see at the end of the war. You know, I'm sure it's something like that, but in this case, it's not just limited to the Indra and Ashura chakra holders. It's like all samurais are connected to the god of war, because I assume they all originate from him. And he's more so like neutral. He's not like good nor evil, nor does he side with either. It's like all samurai are equal to him. They all have the same kind of link, and if one admits defeat, then he's like, well, sorry, gone. You know, it's kind of like that. But now we're seeing that that doesn't really apply to Hachimaru, because being a shonen protagonist, he will never admit to defeat, at least to the point of where he's going to die. I mean, maybe at some point he'll be like, I lost. But at this point, you know, moments like this, he's pretty much unbeatable, because, like I said, shonen protagonist. Because Ata's saying some things you should never say, like, you don't have courage. And then, of course, he's like, you're wrong. Of course I have courage. And then Dr. Furuta steps in. He's like, Hachimaru is a strong boy. And then they have some final flashbacks. And then Hachimaru's like, oh, that's all I needed. Thanks, Dad. Shonen power up. And then he just straight up almost decapitates Ata with a swift sword slash here, just one-armed. He's almost as damaged just as much as Ata is, and he still has Takasuna's soul sticking through him. So this is pretty cool. This is where the chapter is going to end. So maybe Hachimaru might win here. Like I originally suspected, like I thought that Hachimaru was definitely going to have to step up to the plate and take care of Atta here. This was going to be a huge growth moment and like his first big win of the series. But we also have to remember that Daruma is probably going to be ready to go in the next chapter. So maybe he puts Atta on the edge of defeat, and then he's just done after that, because we have to remember Takasuna's soul is in him, and this is the farthest he's ever been pushed. So then maybe Daruma steps in and takes care of Atta after that. So it's kind of like a joint victory at that point. But also we have to remember that the little Chekhov's gun that Atta set up a few chapters ago about sending the moon into the Earth, or whatever the planet is. So that's probably going to happen too, so we can't forget about that. Not sure how it's going to play out, but I don't see that not happening at this point. But regardless, I think everybody's going to make it out of here alive. Aside from Dr. Furuta, I'm unsure of his fate at this point. It seems like An has been like patching him up and keeping him alive at this point, but maybe he's going to do something to save the world from the moon impact, maybe? And that's like his final sacrifice, and then once he is gone, Hachimaru can finally move on and like go into, you know, his full journey without having to worry about his dad anymore, possibly. I mean, I could see Kishimoto doing that. Why not? But let me know what you think about all of this. Love this chapter, like I said. One of the best, if not the best so far. If you liked the video, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon, gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. See you in the next one.